Hello, Crawlspace dwellers, and welcome to Episode 3 of Retro Computer Crawlspace. Episode 3, New and Old, A Visit to the Lab. And welcome to the Retro Computer Crawlspace Lab. Here's one of our Crawlspace dwellers now. This would be Rupert. The first retro computer in the lab is a brand new retro computer. As the screen shows, this is a Colour Maximite 2, Generation 2 Deluxe Edition from PS Labs. You see it has 3 nunchuck ports, joystick port, keyboard and mouse, SD card, power switch at the back, VGA out. It has a breakout port, which is like the Raspberry Pi. So I've got a Raspberry Pi breakout going to this breadboard connected to an amplified microphone. And that's for a project, one of the projects I'm working on, which has been to create a Morse Code reader that would simply listen to the code by ear with a microphone, just as I would. But first, a little bit more about the Maximite. The Maximite is a retro computer in that it runs interpreted BASIC. So as you would expect, here's a basic program to simply print out retro computer crawlspace. I simply say run. And just like 8-bit computing of old, I've got my in key $, I've got my loop, I'm choosing colors. So more about the Morse Code project. The first step was to see how, quickly I could sample sound and have a look at the waveforms to see what it would take, to process code. So I wrote this scope program to let me, view the signal in real time. Let me just change the video mode. It comes up in 800 by 600 mode. I can drop it into 640 by 480 mode. Okay. Now if I take disconnect the microphone, I can show how I can get the signal steady. There we are. Now this is all the sampling and the code and the drawing. Everything is written in and running in interpreted BASIC. There we go. The easiest way to get a nice waveform is just to hum. Well, that's pretty awful, wasn't it? Well, at least I thought so. Okay, so enough of that. The Morse program is in progress. It's a work in progress. And so on the screen here, you can see it's got 3 windows, one for debugging, one for code, and one for text. So if I turn on some code, again, all running in BASIC. And of course, now that I'm talking, interfere with the code reading and it won't work correctly. Which brings me to the old section of today's episode of Retro Computer Crawlspace. From the Crawlspace, I went and located my old HeathKit code practice oscillator. Unfortunately, these things are built like a tank. Built this in grade school. And the first thing that I noticed was I had trouble with. Okay. You can't get simpler construction than that. Or more solid. First thing, of course, is it's powered by two 9-volt batteries. Very handy, held in with a spring. And of course, there were batteries in it, and one of them wouldn't let go. And so that connector broke, so I had to put on a new one. And it still doesn't work. So it's an extremely simple circuit. One transistor, one capacitor, a couple of resistors. My guess, of course, is that it's the capacitor has gone bad. Could be the transistor, that's less likely. But I will have to work on this. First problem I ran across was the key. The key didn't work. And it's because the cable had gone bad. So this coiled cable, somewhere there's a break in it. And so I've ordered a new cable, and we'll have to replace that. Here's the old, this was taped in. I don't know why this wasn't on the outside. Model HD15. So with that in mind of fixing it, I went to find the old manual that would have come with it. And so this folder was the folder in, as I say, from grade school and high school, I guess. Anyway, I remember getting my amateur license in grade school. And so here's my grade school folder with wacky packs on it for Spit and Spill, Lucky Stride, Hertz, Crackola, and Raw Leaves. So these are all the manuals for the projects that I put together back at that time. And I looked at this briefly. And sure enough, here we go, the HD16 code oscillator assembly manual. Look at this baby. Price $2. Copyright 1967. The amazing thing about this is, of course, not only you have your full parts list, assembly instructions, and I like the fact that I've got all my check marks where I was assembling it. And that's what it should look like. There's the schematic. Very simple. Hard to believe it doesn't work. Kind of blown away by that. So, getting that back together and working. Hopefully I'll get that accomplished this week so that I can use that with the Morse Code program. That's episode 3 of Retro Computer Crawlspace, a trip to the lab. Thank you for watching. See you next time.